Hey homeschool friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to chat a bit about what's been happening in our homeschool this past month, so September. And I really enjoyed making the update for last month for August. I'll link it above if you're curious about it. But I think these are just really fun to put together. And if you saw my August update, you'll know we made a number of changes. And there are less changes in the September video. It's been going smoother. We have been settling into more of a routine, which has been wonderful. Although I do have something that I am trying to figure out. Like, it's been kind of on my brain and I've been trying to work through this one issue I'm having in my homeschool, and it's a really big one. And so I'll include kind of my thoughts and feelings on that because I haven't really done anything about it yet. I'm just still thinking about it. So I would love your guys' thoughts, the whole collective homeschool mom brain here on YouTube. And anyway, I'll get to that. But first, let me talk about September. Hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel if you are new here, and welcome back if you've been coming for a while. So welcome to my September homeschool update video. So I'm just going to hop in because I might be rambling a bit more in this video. But for general life update, what has been going on? Not too much. We are in the process of fixing up our backyard and I want to put in a lot of garden boxes. We have the space. I've had garden boxes in the past and I've loved them, but I really want to get my kids into it. So that's a lot of our weekends as we're kind of outdoors and trying to figure out some of that stuff. Otherwise, some of the stuff that's been going on, I've been having some health issues, some kind of like GI issues. I feel like it came from the twin pregnancy, which was just so hard on my body, and I just haven't figured it out or had the time. So I'm kind of starting that, which has made life a little bit more busy. And so hopefully I'll still be able to post here often. That's my goal at least. But anyway, that's kind of what's been going on personally, generally in our family. And so homeschool. Family subjects, maybe I'll start there. So family subjects have been going really well. Again, I love Sonlight. I've been really enjoying it. It's funny because this month has actually been a bit more science and hardly any history. And if you tuned into last month, it was because the science got shipped late, so I kind of doubled up a bunch of weeks of the history. And now I'm kind of doubling up a bunch of weeks of science and catching up on science. And it's been really fun. And I was just so unsure how I would like Sonlight Science. I just love science. I can link a lot of videos that I have talked about my heart for science, and sometimes that clashes a bit with some Christian homeschool curriculum. But so far I have felt very supported within the Sonlight platform for science and just their instructor's guide and how they word things and explain things in very much like some people say this, some people say this. Please discuss it with your kids, kind of how you fall out. And I just really like that. So that is like A+++ for Sonlight Science. But as a scientist, how is the science? That's a good question, right? It's really good. It's good for this age. Again, my kids are 7 and 6, the ones I'm using this for, not my twins. But they have been really enjoying it. We've been using a lot of the Usborne encyclopedia, the one with the quick links, and they love those because then we get to watch a little video after every reading on every page. And I love it because I don't have to go find any little documentaries or go search YouTube and find one that's appropriate. I just click on it and we watch the little 5-minute, 2-minute, whatever video it is that's associated with that Usborne page, and it is a big hit for my kids. Second thing that we're loving about science is the experiments. Oh my gosh, they just redid their science program, and I think I probably should have a totally separate video about this where I can gush about how they set this up, because I feel like at this age, the goal is wonder. The goal is to just like expose kids to a lot of really cool things about the planet, about our bodies, all the things, right? And their experiments are really well set up. They're set up in ways that really pull out critical thinking from the kids. Like for instance, I'll just give you an example. We just did the experiment about oil spills. We read about some things in the Usborne book, and one of them was oil spills. And so in the experiment, the kids are in charge of coming up with ideas for how to contain and clean up oil spills. And what I like about it is there's not just a list of things to try. It's like, what do you guys think? Wander around the house and come up with some things that you think could either clean it up or contain it and keep it from like spreading further. And so they kind of get to act as like almost engineers. Like, here's a problem. It's a real world problem. Engineers actually do this. What are some of the steps they go through? How do they brainstorm ideas of materials? How do they test it? How do they then take that information and come up with a prototype? How do they improve their prototype? And that's how this experiment's set up. It's like, okay, try that. How did that work? All right, well, maybe tweak it and try it again. Okay, how did that work? All right, did that work better to clean up or contain? And so they're getting to kind of act like little mini engineers. And it's just really cool. I've been really impressed with the way their experiments are set up. So I won't gush anymore because maybe I should just make a totally different video, because this is my September update video, not my science update video, but I'm really liking it. I'm so far, big thumbs up from us. But as for read alouds, so we're not doing the history part of the HBL, but we're still continuing on with the read alouds. We read this book. It is The World According to Humphrey by Betty G. Burney, and there's like 8 more books. My kids love this book. I loved this book. I believe I talked about it in last month's video because it took us a while to read it, but it was so cute. It was laugh out loud cute. There was a lot of good lessons about how to treat each other and how to be kind and how to help each other out, and it really made us want to get a pet. Probably not a hamster, but I loved it. I loved it. My kids want to keep going in the series, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to, but we have all these other books to read. So I highly recommend that, The World According to Humphrey. And then, like I said, we tend to read at night as well. And it's not usually the books that are written into the Sonlight program. But I did pick up the level A, the HBLA for Sonlight. Not for my big kids, but for my twins eventually, because there was a really good deal. So anyway, so I have a lot of the read alouds from level A, and my big kids are not going to go through that level. So it's actually kind of nice. So we can pick up some of these, or we can switch out some of the ones like that we have already read, which you'll see in next month's video. But we picked up In Grandma's Attic by Arletta Richardson. This is a really cute book. It is very Christian, so if you are using Sonlight and are more on the secular side, this probably isn't for you. But we loved it. It was full of just such great little stories about this girl and her grandma, and the grandma was telling stories about when she was younger. And they were just really funny stories. Some of the stories my kids just laughed out loud. Others were really good lessons. And the grandma used God and church a lot in her stories and in the lessons she learned. And I just really appreciated that. I thought that was a really helpful tool for me to kind of hang stuff off of and help the kids and be like, do you remember in the story when she did that? Was that a good idea? Stuff like that. So we really liked that book. And currently we couldn't decide on which book to read. So we're reading 2 read alouds at night. We're reading Half Magic by Edward Edgar, very common, popular book, as well as Little House on the Prairie. Also love it. So we're about halfway through Half Magic, and my kids love it. They want to keep reading some of the other ones, which I don't know if everybody knows. There's like 7 books total in the series, and it's just really cute. It's about a story where there's like this magic token they find, and it grants wishes, but it only grants half of the wish. And then you see kind of what shenanigans this set of siblings gets into, and it's really funny. And my kids have just really liked it, and I think it's just delightful. So I've really enjoyed Half Magic. We're not as far in Little House on the Prairie, but I love these books. There's something about just that time frame in history that these books just capture so well, like what it would have felt like. So we're at the beginning of this. So this is like where they leave the woods and they're moving to the prairie and trying to set up a homestead and getting in the covered wagon, all that stuff. And it's just really good. I've really enjoyed it. And even though it's a slower story, I feel like the kids get a lot out of it. And the reason I'm not pushing this book on them, but highly suggesting this book is because we're going through American history in Sonlight, and this is very American history. It's very like, what was it like to live 150 years ago, 200 years ago? So we're enjoying all of those books. So those are our read alouds and our family subjects, except for one thing. I did mention I was going to do an enrichment loop when I put out our family subjects video. I have officially decided to drop that. I don't have the space for it, the mental space for it at this junction. And maybe just because we're switching a bunch of other things in our homeschool, I can't handle it. I can't handle the idea of having to plan that or get that going or find the space for it in our schedule. So I'm shelving it. Not permanently, hopefully, but right now it has to go, because right now it's like, do you know what I mean? Like where it feels like it's on your shoulders. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. And so for me, I have to like move it totally off, with the option to bring it back when it's a better time. So that's a family subject that we're completely ditching. All of those resources, which is sad. And I did like all those resources, but I can't do it. So those are gone. Okay, as for my big kids, so first and second grade, I'm going to combine their update a bit because they're using similar curriculums. And so Saxon, so their math curriculums. And so I switched that early on. So we talked about that last month. I have a video about that. I'll link all that stuff for you to go back and watch if you are curious as to why we switched to Saxon. We are loving it. It's a really good fit. I actually just filmed a video about how we're liking Saxon and how exactly we're using it. And I believe it's the next video coming out on my channel. So stay tuned for that and hit the bell notification and all that stuff if you are really interested in Saxon, because there's a video coming. We are really loving it. I'm loving that it's set up with fact sheets. So they're math fact sheets. They're learning it so much better than they were in our previous program. I love the spiral approach. I love that it just keeps bringing it back. And initially I was like, no, spiral doesn't work. It's too confusing. Now I'm like, spiral works for my kids, or at least my son, for sure my son. The video coming will dive more into my thoughts there, but I'm just really enjoying it. I think it's a good fit for right now. I'm holding all things loosely these days. So language arts, we're currently using All About Reading, All About Spelling. Well, All About Spelling only for my older child, for my second grader, not my daughter, but All About Reading for both of them, as well as Sonlight Language Arts, where we're using like the grammar and the creative writing. So none of the phonics or spelling from there. So we're kind of only using like a third of that program. But those are what we're using: All About Reading, All About Spelling, and Sonlight. So let me talk first about what's working. So I'm enjoying the Sonlight. I'm enjoying the Sonlight Language Arts. I think it's a nice, gentle approach to creative writing. And it uses a lot of copy work, and then it has grammar built in. There's really one day a week where there's a grammar component to the program, but it always kind of segues off of either their readers or their copy work. And so it's just nice. They learn about like the apostrophe S or homophones, or there's all sorts of things. But it's just a gentle introduction to it, as well as the creative writing. I feel like that has been a very gentle introduction to creative writing, like where I am able to kind of type out their little stories and we kind of work on things. And all the assignments are different. Some are real imaginative, some are more straightforward, like write an invitation, some are more order this story, so you're kind of thinking logically, chronologically, all those things. So I've enjoyed that. I think it's an appropriate amount for these ages. So we're really liking Sonlight Language Arts, which I'll do an update on that as I get a little bit more into it, but so far so good. So now, the area I'm having a little bit of problem, and it's not terrible. It's not a terrible problem. So reading, my gosh, if you've been on my channel for a while, you know, like reading's been a bit of a struggle for my oldest especially. Even my daughter a bit. She's not really taking off or feeling that comfortable with reading at this point yet, which is fine. But we are using All About Reading, and I do like it. I do. Like, I think there's so many good things about the program, and it was really what he needed when we switched out of Logic of English. He needed a program that was slower paced, that had a lot more practice involved. So all the fluency sheets and all the word cards have been really helpful for him. Now, where my train is slowly falling off the rails is review, and kind of almost like a spiraling review of some old concepts. He doesn't remember. So I've been trying to monitor his fluency. And the best way I found to do that was to do kind of a word fluency chart. And I'm testing him about once a month to see how his fluency is going in his reading. And in those procedures for doing that, usually you pick a book that is very much on their level. And I've picked mostly books that are behind where we are currently. So he should be good with those books, but not books that he has memorized by any means. So it's not like a recent read. So those are the types of books, and then you let them read and you time them for a minute, and then you add up all the words that he read and subtract out any words that he had problems with, things like that. And so what kind of started derailing me on this is he's either stayed the same or gotten worse. And I do feel like in general his reading's gotten better, but then the hard thing is where we go back to some old stuff and he stumbles across it like he's never seen it. And then it made me think, well, either I'm not utilizing the review of the word cards well enough, which I feel like I am, but I'm only working within the current level because we're in level 2, not level 1, and he's struggling on some level 1 concepts currently. And so I'm not sure if I'm just not using the program as it should be used. That's the problem. Or I have to put in some extra review. So All About Reading is great at practice, but it's not spiral, if that makes sense. It's almost more mastery. But then I realize as he's like 20 lessons into level 2, he's struggling with some level 1 concepts. And so I, as a teacher, have to start figuring out how to spiral back in that material to keep it fresh enough for him. So I don't know. That's my problem. I feel like after switching to Saxon and seeing that he does well with the spiral, I almost feel like, would he have done better, or would he do better with a reading program that spirals? Or do I have to make a mastery program a spiral program? Does that make sense? Do I have to put in the time to figure out how to spiral some of the review? Which is always hard for me. I've learned that about myself, that I am not very good at that. I am much better at taking a program that has too much information and weeding through it than I am on inventing how to do something that I need it to do, but it doesn't do. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, that's my question. Right now I'm still going on with All About Reading, but I'm trying to figure out how to either supplement him, help him in these areas, how to put review in. So I'd love any thoughts or comments below on this, because I am not sure. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if I should switch programs, which I'm not inclined to do, or use a different program kind of a little bit, like supplement it in a bit. And I'm thinking like programs sort of like Abeka, which teach reading in very much a spiral approach of lots of practice, lots of blends, things like that. So, oh my gosh, I don't know. Let me know, you guys, if you have any thoughts on that, because I have been thinking about it and just not sure. And I hate being in this spot where I'm just not sure what to do or if I'm doing the right thing for him and his learning style. All right, so moving on. So my twins, my 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old twins, are doing really well. They're just lively, playful boys who get into a lot, which was why we put them in preschool for 2 mornings a week. And they love preschool. So they're doing really well there. They love their teachers. They're doing songs and the alphabet and letters and art and science and all sorts of fun things, just lots of crafty things that are hard for me to do. So I'm really happy with that decision. And then at home, we're really not doing very much. We're doing a little bit of the alphabet friends cards from Abeka, and we're also doing the Sonlight preschool program, but mostly just the read alouds and occasionally some of the like arts and crafts stuff. But those are very easy, like roll out a Play-Doh sort of idea. So it's going fine. I mean, they're 3, almost 4. And we're doing a little bit here, a little bit there. And so I'm really happy with where they're at. And that they're mostly just playing and learning some stuff, but I'm not too stressed out about where they're at. So yeah, that's my homeschool for September so far. I feel like we're in a good spot. I've got some things to think about and figure out, or maybe not change. I'm not sure. But I am happy with where we are. Anyway, let me know down below, how did your September homeschool go? What were some wins? What were some struggles? Share it all below. I would love to hear it. I love when you guys share what's going on in your homeschool as well. So anyway, that is what I have for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And otherwise, I will see you in the next homeschool video. All right, have a wonderful day.